Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good whatevers. It's me, Stone Whisperer, and I'm back with a Wednesday special where we shall be reading from a book. Now the book is called Why Don't Penguins' Feet Freeze? And 114 Other Questions. The New Scientist magazine's ever-popular Last Word column produces an endlessly fascinating array of questions and answers from its readers. For all those who relish its mixture of wit, insight, and scientific curiosity, not to mention those who have read and enjoyed Does Anything Eat Wasps?, the brilliantly successful previous collection, this new volume will be irresistible. Why Don't Penguins' Feet Freeze includes recent answers never before published in book form, as well as old favourites from the column's early days. This bumper collection brings together the highlights of The Last Word and another wise, weird and wacky compendium that is guaranteed to amaze, inform and delight. So, let's grab some questions and I'll give you some answers. Sparkling wine or beer poured into a dry glass froths up. If the glass is wet, this does not happen. Pour some sparkling wine into a glass so it froths up to the rim. Let the bubbles subside, and you can then pour the rest of the wine quickly, knowing it will not froth over the top. Why? Now the answer to this: beer, sparkling wine, and other fizzy drinks are liquids which are supersaturated with gas. Although thermodynamics favour the gas bubbling out of a dissolved state, bubble formation is unlikely since bubbles must start small. The pressure of these tiny bubbles can reach about 30 atmospheres in a bubble only 0.1 micrometers in diameter. Because the solubility of gases increases with increasing pressure, Henry's law, the gas is forced back into the solution as quickly as it comes out. Bubbles can form around dust particles, surface irregularities, and scratches. These nucleation sites are hydrophobic and allow gas pockets to grow without first forming tiny bubbles. Once the gas pocket reaches a critical size, it bulges out and rounds up into a properly convex bubble whose radius of curvature is sufficiently large to prevent self-collapse. So I think basically there, the bubbles actually already attach and just help to protect it from making bubbles. If polar bears were transferred to Antarctica, could they survive, and would penguins survive in Arctic? Polar bears would probably survive in the Antarctic and the Southern Ocean around it, but they could devastate the native wildlife. In the Arctic, polar bears feed mainly on seals, especially young pups born on ice floes or beaches. Many of the differences in breeding habits between Arctic and Antarctic seals can be interpreted as adaptations to evading predation by bears. Polar bears would find plenty of fish-eating mammals and birds around Antarctica. Penguins would be particularly vulnerable because they are flightless and breed on open ground, with larger species taking months to raise a single chick. Bears can only run in short bursts, but they could catch a fat penguin chick or grab an egg from an incubating parent. In the Arctic, polar bears hunt mainly on the edge of sea ice, where it is thick enough to support their weight, but thin enough for seals to make breathing holes. The numerous islands off the north coast of Canada, Alaska, and northwest Europe provide plenty of suitable habitats. The Antarctic continent is colder with only a few offshore islands, so bears would probably thrive at lower latitudes in the Southern Ocean and in the Arctic. We can only hope that nobody ever tries what the questioner suggests. Artificially introduced predators often devastate indigenous wildlife, as it is not accustomed to dealing with them. This occurred with stoats in New Zealand, foxes and cats in Australia, and rats on many isolated islands. Large, heavy animals would also trample the slow-growing, mechanically weak plants and lichens of the Antarctic. For example, Norwegian reindeer have decimated many native plants in South Georgia, an island in the South Atlantic Ocean, since they were introduced 80 years ago. Why is red meat red and white meat white? What is the difference between the various animals that makes their flesh differently coloured? Red meat is red because the muscle fibres which make up the bulk of the meat contain a high content of myoglobin and mitochondria, which are coloured red. Myoglobin, a protein similar to hemoglobin in red blood cells, acts as a store for oxygen within the muscle fibres. Mitochondria are organelles within cells which use oxygen to manufacture the compound ATP, which supplies energy for muscle contraction. The muscle fibres of white meat, by contrast, have a low contact of myoglobin and mitochondria. The difference in colour between the flesh of various animals is determined by the relative proportions of these two basic muscle fibre types. The fibres in red muscle fatigue slowly, where the fibres in white muscle fatigue rapidly. An active, fast-swimming fish, such as a tuna, has a high proportion of fatigue-resistant red muscle in its flesh, whereas a much less active fish, such as a plaice, has mostly white muscle. Local birds tend to eat little black insects. So how come they void themselves on me from a great height with a white and annoyingly conspicuous product? It is a common misconception that the white droppings produced by bird are feces. In fact, they are urine. Birds excrete uric acid, rather than urea, because it is an insoluble solid. This way, they avoid wasting water when urinating, just one of their adaptations for a good power to weight ratio. So bird poo is in fact bird pee. How is it possible for gnats to fly in heavy rain without being knocked out the air by raindrops? A falling drop of rain creates a tiny pressure wave ahead. This wave pushes the gnat sideways and the drop misses it. Fly swatters are made from mesh or of holes in their surface to reduce this pressure wave, otherwise flies would escape most swats. Following a recent bereavement, we would like to know why fish jump out of small aquariums. Fish jumping out of small tanks is quite a common problem for enthusiasts, and is the reason why some owners choose to have a glass cover on top of their aquarium. There are several theories as to why fish might jump from a small aquarium. It has been suggested that one reason fish leap from the water is that in the wild use this method to attempt to rid themselves of ectoparasites. Although the questioner did not mention gender and species mix of the fish in their aquarium, it is possible that their fish could have been leaping to avoid predators or unpleasant interactions with other creatures, or even to show off their conspecific fish in some previously unknown courtship or territorial ritual. Why do birds never fall off their perches when sleeping? Do they in fact sleep? Birds have a nifty tendon arrangement in their legs. The flexor tendon from the muscle in the thigh reaches down over the knee, continues down the leg, around the ankle, and then under the toes. This arrangement means that at rest, the bird's body weight causes the bird to bend its knee and pull the tendon tight, so closing the claws. Apparently this mechanism is so effective that dead birds have been found grasping their perches long after they have died. Well, thanks very much for listening to our Wednesday special. It's always great. I hope to continue doing these, so please let me know if you've got any suggestions. Thanks. Take care. Sleep well and have a great day now. Bye bye.